America's Mayor Live on a warm night in Palm Beach and a eventful day around the country. Tonight, we're going to try a little later in the show something new. And I'm asking if you, not all of you, because we'd be overwhelmed, but when I say give the signal to call us at 646 306 8836. That's 646 306 8836. We will soon have an 800 number, but we thought we would start out with this as a test of how this all works. And now we can have good conversations. Then maybe if that works, we'll lengthen that part of the show if you find it enjoyable and useful and entertaining, and most importantly, educational, which is why we are doing the whole show in the first place. So a couple of items that came up in the last couple of days that didn't seem to get too much attention, but maybe it's because of the upcoming Easter season. Maybe it's because of the fact that Christians and Catholics and people of followers of Jesus Christ have felt that they've been really just ignored completely in terms of whenever there's an attack on them, there's no attention for it. It's expected they should take it. When an attack on someone else, there's a complete revision of basically everything, and respect for just desecrating the image of Muhammad, for example, but no respect for desecrating the image of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ or his Holy Mother. I don't know how spontaneous it is, but many campuses over the last 4 or 5 weeks, starting, I'll say 4 or 5 weeks, a couple of weeks ago, starting at the Asbury University campus, they shut down all revival services. And they watched revivals at other universities, Texas A&M University, another A&M student did the same thing. And by the time they were going, they had these virtual and spontaneous revival meetings going on 8:30 every night. And they were going day after day after day after day, trying to bring back and trying to talk about Indiana Wesleyan University. There's a good, fine Protestant background with John Wesley and the Methodist Church, right? I've been at IWU since 3 a.m., wrote Jim Lower, professor at IWU's School of Theology and Ministry, and I sit in the chapel auditorium involved in reflective prayer. The words of John Coleman come to mind. Anytime you see a revival, you can be sure it started with a prayer. God is doing a work at IWU. May not have the proportions of what is happening at Asbury, but students are responding to the touch of the Spirit. At 2 a.m., I received a text from a student sharing how she has surrendered her all to God. Why am I up early than normal? I've been sensing God working at Indiana Wesleyan University. Something wonderful is happening. I sense there is even more that he wants to do. Sure there is. I think God has heard the prayer of so many of the parents and students as to what has happened to our education and what's happened to our country in driving God out of the country that he looked down with great favor on and who was dedicated to him so immensely that it was a recognition that all our rights come from him, not from the government, not from anything else, but from God the Almighty. That has been attacked, demonized, ripped apart. Oh my goodness. No prayers in school, no recognition of God in school. Well, now we see them coming back. And I thought it would happen. I thought it would happen particularly when the parents got all upset over what was going on in Virginia and the way in which the students there were being taught things that their parents did not approve of, and then were being lulled into questioning their gender and questioning their belief in God and questioning their belief in the country and questioning everything at an age in which it's not easy. I mean, it's not hard to question everything. And it's not hard to get confused about having questioned everything. So, so I would say that that has resulted in this movement that is now going on, which is a good thing to see. Just in case you think that things in the Middle East are all back to normal and hunky-dory and getting all ready for the holy days, like heck they are. 6 Palestinians were killed in a raid on Palestine in the bank city of Jenin yesterday. And that was in retaliation for an attack in Israel in which soldiers were fired upon and innocents were fired upon. There was a shootout with the Israeli police. And now we've had 65 Palestinians and 14 Israelis have been killed in the West Bank since the beginning of 2023, which is the deadliest beginning to a year in years. They don't give the number of years. It shows that violence there is getting worse. This, like every other part of the world, has, if you look at it on January 20th of 2021 was peaceful. Abraham Accords, things looked like they had a chance. No killings in a long time. Well, like Afghanistan, where thousands have been murdered, thousands and thousands have been murdered here, hundreds have been murdered. Syria, hundreds, maybe thousands. Iraq, hundreds, maybe thousands. These are all things that were not going on when Trump was in the White House. These are all things going on based on our, I don't know what to say. Incompetent sounds too weak. Too many people have died for incompetent. We'll come to a conclusion on what to call him. Right now, why don't we suffice with the worst president in our history? But please don't think things are okay in the parts of the world you don't hear about. The press just covers it up, and that happens to be true of Palestine, where they're having some of the worst violence in years here at the start of the new Bibi Netanyahu administration, which is probably why he's back in office. Well, Tucker Carlson has been doing quite a good job on the January 6th issue. He's taken one at a time, and he's taken only a few, but he's ripped them to shreds to show that only a dishonest, disreputable group of reporters who had no respect for the facts would print this, and no members of Congress would have ever participated in this. This was a Hollywood production. They hired a Hollywood producer for it. They put on only their witnesses. They put only those parts of their witnesses that they agreed with. They would shoot in with clips of people asking them the reactions to things. It was, they tried to make it like into a soap opera reality event, repeat of Joe McCarthy, except on the left rather than the right, if you don't know who I'm talking about with Joe McCarthy. But I think now is payback time. Republicans do have the House. The Republicans do have a good deal of powerful media outlets, nothing like the Democrats, but enough so we can get a message across. And McCarthy did make a bit of a strange move. You would say classic America. You give it out to all the press. Be fair. Give it out to all of them. That'd be naive as hell, wouldn't it? I thought of that when I had the hard drive. I thought about giving it to all the press. And I said, by the time anybody gets it published, the New York Times will have written lies about it. 50 pages, 60, 80 pages. They're right-wing, they're left-wing, weak-minded people who are already brainwashed will be brainwashed with it. And at least 30% of the country will believe it, that it's a Russian disinformation. Who knows? They may put Russian words in it. I said, I have to give it to somebody who will be a fair interpreter of it. And then let it speak for itself. Because after that first impression, then it's going to be the actual tape itself. But here we were dealing with only 40 days, so we didn't have time for a first impression, a second. So I gave it to the New York Post, and I will tell you, because I am very disappointed in the New York Post. They didn't just take it and, like big heroes, run with it. It took a week of negotiation to get them to do it. People that pushed to get this done were Bob Costello, me, and John Mac Isaacs, and Miranda Devine. The New York Post had extra orders of diapers that week. The Washington Post, of course, was out of the question. The Wall Street Journal was afraid of their reputation. Now, it turns out, 18 months later, it's absolutely true. Probably the biggest story of the century so far, that a presidential candidate, former vice president, former senator, had spent almost every waking hour of his time as a senator and a vice president figuring out how to sell out the country, and had pulled in well over $31 billion from our biggest enemy, China, and 3.5 billion, really 100, but 3.5 billion, which I'm stuck with right now until I get their records. 3.5 billion from Katerina Buturina. Katerina Buturina, here, it rhymes, you can remember that one, was the mayor's wife in Moscow. The mayor was a wackadoodle crook. I knew the mayor. He was the mayor for 2,000 years, including when I was the mayor. And near the end, he was stealing from everybody, I think probably even Putin. So Wifey was getting annoyed, and Wifey was very close to Putin, and he was saying some even bad things about Putin, which I don't think Putin took too seriously, because he knew the guy a long time. He had been an ally, and I think he was getting Bidened. I think he was an early stage Biden. So she started making deals of her own, and one deal that she made was with the Biden. She gave him $3.5 million for a big complex that they were going to build, and a lot more of that money came through too, but we don't know exactly how much. Well, you know about the $8.5 million from Ukraine, with a possible other $13 million in an offshore bank account. You know about the $3.5 million money laundering or money to Joe. You know about the $30 million contract where with China, with Chinese communists, where Joe got a straight 10% of that contract, and then a 50% interest in the Biden family portion of it, for a cool $4 or $5 million a year from the Chinese communists, I might add. So all of that is kind of laying out now, and we get to January 6th, and what we find is they prosecuted a guy for trespass who was escorted around the Capitol by the police. He looked like their best friend. They actually opened the door for him. He's having trouble opening the door. They opened the door for him.
And of course, you cover that in depth on your latest podcast, which will be coming out. They let him in the door. They were escorting him through the place. They were smiling.
Well, there was one door he was having trouble getting in. So the policeman makes a check to see if he can find another door at the other end of the hall. Takes him down the other end of the hall. And whatever he is, the Charmin who looks like something out of a grade B Western, grade C Western. The Charmin carrying his pole can't open the door. So the cop opens it for him and holds it. This is the place where you go to prison for 4 years if you go in. But the cop escorted him. I don't know, the cop go with him? The cop going to escort him in a prison cell? Gosh, they used to have a defense called entrapment when America had a constitution. Must have been done away with somewhere in the District of Columbia. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get how you don't see the frame up if you don't. And if you don't see the frame up by now, can I make a suggestion? It is mentioned in spirit of, there are remedial education courses in your community, as well as psychiatric courses that can help blockages of the brain. And then, of course, the two of the people involved in that good old bribe didn't get sanctioned by President Trump. Vladimir Yevtushenko, and of course, Yatina Buterin
President Biden or President Trump?
by President Trump. President Trump just sanctioned a bunch of Russians. She was on the list, and so was Yevtushenko, another business partner of the hard drive from hell, and he was not put on the sanctions list. All the others were. Here are the lovely Chinese communist spies that were put on the list. They were all put on the list, except if you did business with the Bidens, you got off the list.
Funny how that works.
I wonder how much money you had to come up with. I wonder if the ones that only came up with like some watches and stuff like that, I wonder if they got on the list. You had to come up with like 3.5 million or 10 million or whatever.
Mayor, going back to January 6th, and we've seen, of course, Tucker Carlson was given exclusive access to this footage. When did you first see some of this? I mean, a lot of people, I feel like, are seeing it for the first time. When did you first see what was really happening that day?
I saw that I'd say about 5:30 that night.
That night, January 6th, 2021.
Yeah, they brought me a full copy of the Sullivan tape, which looks like a made for Hollywood murder mystery that was going to culminate always in a murder, in which the main protagonist that should have been arrested was Sullivan, who seemed to know where to go at every point to get this murder right, and the guy who did the murder. But both were let free. And this is the second time that Sullivan had done this. In October, he had filmed another murder, and he was out on bail from that, but that didn't stop them from letting him out again.
Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani, on what we like to call the fastest hour on the internet. We are moving right along on a very busy news night. Of course, more and more coming out on January 6th.
I have an audience tonight. And one of my audience seems to be wanting to ask a question. It's Grace Giuliani. Grace, do you have a question? Yeah, here. Huh?
Thanks for joining us again. We are live.
Oh, there's my Grace. There she is. Little Grace. Oh, well, you're going to fix that up for her? We're going to have Monsignor Plaka sit there in a little while. You want to get it warm for him? Yeah. Here. Well, since our dad does this too, you want to say something? Yeah, here. Papa? Papa? Mama there. Yeah. I'm Pop-Up.
So we are here with Mr. Mayor, why don't you introduce our guest here?
Can't see. Seville.
Her face is blocked by the mic, so we got to keep the mic.
Should I have to lift her up a bit?
Great. Let's see if who do we have here, Mayor?
We have the beautiful Grace Giuliani, who is checking everything out here. She's making sure it's all. See, she does the last minute check for us to make sure everything's okay. Right? That's right. You do the last minute check. Almost time for your bed. You go to bed good too. You're not one of those difficult ones. Did you have a nice day today at the beach? Mama? What, Mama? Pop-Up? Yeah, it's Pop-Up. And Dad coming home real
Grace.
soon. Dad,
Grace, cameras up here. So thanks for joining us. A very special guest this evening. Surprise guest. We have Grace Giuliani. Grace, you have your close-up now. What would you like to add to tonight's show? Any insight on current events? Seeing anything interesting today that you'd like to discuss with the audience this evening?
What do you want to say, Grace?
She's thinking, right? You don't want to just talk to talk, right? It's So we have a very special guest. We didn't even tease this. We weren't expecting a guest this evening, but we were ready, and we have Grace Giuliani with us.
Want to say goodbye? Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Grace Giuliani. How old is Grace, Mayor?
Grace is 1 year and 3 months.
Putting the mayor on the spot here.
Well, just counting from
You got it right.
1 year and 3 months. in
believe.
December. Now we're going to have with us Monsignor Plager. He's going to come in.
So one guest to another. Here we go.
The problem isn't if she's cute or if she makes more sense. So, Alan is now a permanent resident of Florida. He had all his life pretty much been a permanent resident of New York State, sometimes the city, both. So this is a big, big thing now, right? Everybody moving to Florida, Texas, South Carolina, North Carolina.
You're moving out
of New York,
and
out of New York,
California.
out of California, out of New Jersey,
Right.
all those places. So but you did this about 4 years ago, right?
5.
5.
Yeah.
So you were a little bit, it was going on then, but you were a teeny bit before the big stuff, right?
Sure. And it was a retirement move.
Yeah, and you had been coming down here like for vacation.
Sure.
So what made your choice, and would you make it again?
Yes. What made the choice was I came to West Palm and loved West Palm, and I certainly would make the move again. I like the lifestyle here in Florida very much. I have to understand, I was a very happy New Yorker. I always loved living in New York City, and in New York State.
No, he was a very took advantage. I mean, not a took advantage of. It was some people are in New York. They're in New York. They could be in any place else.
No,
But you took advantage of New York and enjoyed it.
I enjoyed the theater. I enjoyed the museums. Everything about New York made me happy. So I didn't leave to get away from anything. It was before this, latest wave of moves. I made the move because of retirement, and I found Florida, the pace interesting. I love the weather, of course, but I also like the Palm Beach area. Palm Beach County is, to me, it's a very relaxed and very interesting place, and it has enough interesting activity to make it a good place to live.
So, how much of the movement here do you think is quality of life, straight taxes, straight politics?
A lot. I was just talking to my sister, who lives about 200 miles north of New York City. Her family moved there because her husband worked for the state government in Albany. I was speaking to her, and she stayed up there even after retirement because her children and grandchildren lived there.
Yeah, like you and I mean, all our friends are there.
That's right. Well,
Now they've moved.
now they're
Oh,
moving.
God.
Yeah, but well, for us, yeah. But my sister's in the position now of her children moving out of New York because of the taxes and the politics.
Right.
So-
So now the family that would otherwise keep you there
Moves.
has moved either to one central spot or to two places. So you got to pick one and go back and forth.
I think that I think my sister will finally move down to Florida because as her children split and move in different directions, she's not going to get involved in commuting from one child and our grandchildren.
Yeah, you try to put them near each other.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
in a considerably nicer place, right?
Yeah.
And then, so I wonder, it probably is a combination. Probably is a combination of all those things for different people: quality of life, education if you have young
Sure.
kids.
Sure.
Even if you don't have young kids, I don't like to be in a place with a bad educational system.
No.
I think it's going to go bad.
Mhm.
I think it's bad for I've always thought education is one of the things where the community is affected. So if my kid gets a good education, if 50 kids get a bad education, what's going to happen to my community?
Yeah.
My kids have nobody to work with.
I find that education here in Florida, though, is pretty good.
It seems to be good, and they seem to be improving it.
Yes, right.
They seem to be putting a lot of emphasis on. They seem to be putting a lot more emphasis on it as a discipline, whereas in New York they're so tied up with crime and taxes and craziness, complete craziness. New York is tied up with pure craziness.
That,
The mayor now wants the people in the stores who own the stores to tell you to take your mask off when you're in the store. You can get half them shot. He wants. It's not the cop's responsibility; it's the patron's responsibility. And they're gonna have half the people there shooting it up. They're gonna take your mask off. Go to hell. I'm gonna take my mask
Mhm.
off. He lives in some kind of world.
But
Thanks.
While I don't agree with it, I understand what he's saying. That there are people coming in, if you can identify them, they can get away with anything.
Right. I mean, but he's the one who got to put the mask on.
I'm exactly right.
Thanks.
You got to start with the general. You got to start bringing the numbers down. First, you got to start with being straight with people about masks. Get them off. You're stupid. You look stupid. They don't do anything. So, okay, we fooled you. Ha ha ha. We made billions. We made billions on it. You really never needed the mask in the first place. Just because your kid in kindergarten went bachelor with a mask on, now can't talk anymore. That's your tough luck. But we're the government, and there's nothing like what they're going to do to you when China takes over in about 10 years.
So thanks for joining
You're
us.
ready.
America's Mayor Live with America's Mayor Rudy Giuliani and a special guest, and we can say a very good friend of the show, Monsignor Alan Plaka, of the Diocese of Rockville Center. Is it previously, or are you always kind of a member?
That's with my home diocese. I'm retired now.
Yes. So when you're retired as a priest, is it still your diocese, or is there no real?
No,
Con-
no, I'm still connected to the
Yes,
diocese. I'll
of
always
course.
be.
Right? So it's like you never really retired per
No.
se, right? When you're from the cloth.
Mhm.
And more importantly, a longtime friend of the mayor. How long have you known Mayor Rudy Giuliani?
Since September
I can't even remember.
of 1957.
Since September of 1957, ladies and gentlemen. That's high school.
Yes, sir. Bishop Locker Memorial High School.
So the two individuals you're with now are proud graduates of Bishop Laughlin Memorial High School in
In Brooklyn.
Brooklyn,
That's right.
New York. And is it true that Mayor Giuliani, even going back then, living in Brooklyn, was a diehard Yankees fan?
It's true.
And can you tell the people what that meant at that time, being a New York Yankees fan in Brooklyn?
It was another revelation of his courage to do that.
An early revelation.
To do that, yeah, that was a serious revelation of courage.
Because, of course, at the time, or when did the Brooklyn Dodgers leave Brooklyn?
58.
Yeah,
Oh, so wow. So in a way, he almost looked like he was ahead of the.
But I was I grew up. I was born in 44, so I became aware of them in 50. So it was 5 or 6 years with the Dodgers.
But when the Dodgers left, because you see it today, every once in a while, a football team, some team leaves. People in Brooklyn, I'm sure, were up in arms, right?
Oh,
Losing
my
the Dodgers.
God.
you
Did-
can't imagine.
Imagine your childhood,
Yeah.
your favorite team as a kid.
Devastated, would you say, Al? Devastated?
Absolutely.
So did you almost look smarter than the rest of them, Mayor? Like, well, I knew
No, I
the
didn't.
Yankees were sticking around.
Uh-uh.
Was there a third team there?
The Giants.
The Brooklyn
No,
Giants.
no.
The New York Giants.
New York
They were
Giants.
known as the New York Giants baseball team
That's
Mhm.
right.
in the 50s.
Yeah, and they played at the Polo Grounds.
They were the older team.
So they were even had a larger fan base than the Brooklyn Dodgers? No.
Originally, the Giants dominated New York. They were the first team, the biggest team. The Dodgers came along and had a terrible beginning, kind of like the Mets. You know, they lost a lot of games. They were known as the Brooklyn Bums.
That's right.
The Dodgers.
Yeah, but then even before they started the rivalry with the Yankees, they started to get good, or almost as good as the Giants. So the rivalry with the Giants, after about 12 years, became very, very intense. And then for some reason, the Dodgers would get into the World Series, and almost every time they got into the World Series, it would be with the Yankees. I think before the Dodgers won a World Series, they lost 7 to the Yankees.
Mhm.
I think that's right. Can you imagine that? And
Wow.
they may have been in the World Series with one other team and lost. But they've only basically were only in the World Series with one team, the Yankees, and lost. It was like inevitable. Every September, they would meet and the Yankees would beat them. And then one glorious September for the Dodgers, 1954, with Jackie Robinson stealing home, and
Yep.
the Dodgers finally won the World Series against the Yankees. And that was Brooklyn's highest moment.
And these were still, even then in the 50s, more people watched or listened on the radio than watched on TV, correct? I mean, TV was
Oh.
around, but more people were listening to it on the radio still.
I mean, I've forgotten when TV started, probably in the late 40s.
Well, they talk about the greatest game ever played. That was the New York Football Giants, I believe.
That was 57.
And that was 57. And that was a big deal, right? For TV.
Yeah, the only footage of that is somebody's home cam recorder.
And that's
Which
what
is a very good recording, which has been enhanced and still is missing a little bit. There is no official. Nobody can find an official recording of it.
Isn't that amazing? So you had the Brooklyn Dodgers, the New York Giants, and the New York Yankees, and the Mets were not around yet.
No.
They came after the two. So 2 of the 3 left
2 of the 3 left National League. So the National League was without a team.
and headed out west. A lot of LA. I'm sure they were the first team out there.
They went to LA and to
San Francisco.
Exactly. They arrived the same day.
This-
Well, they left it.
They did leave,
They arrived
simultaneously.
just about the same. And I think it was really the crushing blow to Brooklyn, which had its own kind of standing, and
yeah.
it had been its own city for a while, for a long time.
Till 1899. Mhm.
Monsignor, were you a baseball fan growing up?
Of course, everybody was.
And boxing, right? Back then it was boxing.
I loved watching boxing on TV. Yeah.
Boxing, baseball, football was a big sport, but less than now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Basketball was a pretty big sport.
Mhm.
That's when the scandals took place, and
So back then, of course, college basketball on the East Coast, New York City. I don't know if it was called the Big East at the time,
uh-huh.
but that was the league for college basketball. All those colorful coaches. Now we're talking 670s, right?
Right.
Mhm.
St. John's, all those schools. New York City was the mecca of basketball, and so that's when you guys were there. I mean, growing up,
Sure.
that was the height of, you could say, the golden era for college basketball, maybe.
And for us, at Manhattan College, where we were students together, the great rivalry was Fordham versus Manhattan.
Fordham,
Yeah.
Vince Lombardi,
Yeah,
in
about
a
a mile
different
away.
sport, football, but
Yeah.
About a mile away.
wow,
About a mile and a half away, right, Alan? 2
That's
miles.
right.
2 miles. And the difference now is that football is no longer a college sport in New York. So really, football is really a professional sport now, completely in New York. And now it's a gambling sport in New York because of
Yeah.
all the gambling you can do. Baseball still has its adherents. The Yankees and the Mets, they go up and down. Certain things happen, like the pandemic, but
both
come
big
back.
spenders, big fan bases.
they
Obviously,
both
the
came
Yankees.
back this year to watch it. And I think, a lot of it is what's going to happen to the city, because the city is losing people left and right. Can't keep doing that. And we have 2 more years of who knows what Biden's going to do. Who knows what
Yep.
strange thing he has in mind for us. And all of it tends to hurt the city.
Thanks for joining us. America's Mayor Live.
Not any good
Lots of comments
Text.
tonight. 2 guests this evening. Our previous guest is getting a lot of praise, of course, that being Grace Giuliani. A lot of love for Grace here. And of course, the Monsignor, who's been here before. Our audience is always appreciative to have you on. So if you have questions for the Monsignor, it doesn't just have to be theological in nature, although you're welcome to ask.
Yeah, try one.
So ask away. Anything goes, right, Monsignor? Anything goes. You ask, I'm going to ask him. You put it in the text, I'm going to ask him. No filter. So thanks again for joining us, America's Mayor Live. A very busy evening. New polling coming out, Mayor, of course, in the presidential race. It's
I
never
saw
too
that.
early.
I saw the Emerson poll, but there was another one too.
Any thoughts or reaction on the latest polling?
Well, tell us the poll.
So the latest polling by Emerson, and we're going to bring it up here right now, shows.
Grace is working on the polling right now.
So the latest polling from Emerson, presidential polling, shows Donald Trump with a healthy lead. This is the New Hampshire 2024 Republican primary, and we're bringing it up now. I'm stalling for time, as you can see. GOP primary, President Trump at 58%. You have Florida Governor Ron DeSantis coming in at second at 17%. The current governor of New Hampshire, Chris Sununu, at 7%. Former Vice President Mike Pence, 4%. Nikki Haley at 6%, so they should put her ahead of Pence there. Pompeo, 2%. Senator Tim Scott, who's been rumored as a potential, he might throw his hat in the ring, 1%. Christy Noem, 1%. Larry Hogan, who today has taken his name out of consideration. Larry Hogan, not to be confused with the great Hulk Hogan. Larry Hogan, of course, the former governor of Maryland, the former Republican governor of Maryland. Mayor jokes, is he Republican? Of course, being a statewide Republican in the state of Maryland may not put you in the same lane as the former president. So Larry Hogan's saying he's not running. So those of us here,
well, that'd be very
waiting for Governor Hogan.
Disappointed to 4 people in Maryland.
And someone else, 3%. I wonder what percent of that someone else would go into Mayor Rudy Giuliani's category.
Wonder how, like, when you look at Sununu, he's got a big family there. And he's got only 7% of the vote. You think it's only his family?
So that you could go 2 ways there, right? I mean, 7%, it's not nothing. That's third place in the poll. But you're the sitting governor of this state. So is that humbling, do you think?
Yes.
No, you're the lead. I mean, you say Sununu, you think New Hampshire, right? Those are. So then you take a poll and you come in at 7% for the primary. I don't know. I'd be curious to see how he would take. How would you take that news?
But he's winning. He's winning the mayoral, the governor's race.
Big time. He won he won
He's
re-election
winning again. I mean,
yeah.
They're polling the 24 gubernatorial race.
Yeah.
And he has a very healthy lead.
Yeah. So does this show that voters can make every 2 interesting? We're learning about New Hampshire, the Granite State, of course, with an expert on New Hampshire politics. Of course, we have 2 experts on New Hampshire politics: the great Dr. Maria Ryan and Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Monsignor Plaka, how much time have you spent in the Granite State?
Not enough to be an expert.
Yeah,
but it's a heavy Catholic state, correct?
No,
Not particularly.
Not particularly. Just Massachusetts.
maybe I'm gonna guess maybe 20%.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Not like
I had it wrong.
You're thinking of Rhode Island or Massachusetts.
I'm thinking Massachusetts. I thought
And Rhode Island.
Oh, Rhode Island too.
Rhode Island may be per capita the largest Catholic Italian
Wow,
state.
that is
sure.
That is fascinating. That is a fascinating stat. I would think.
And Irish and Catholic in Massachusetts. And Greek
Yes,
in Massachusetts.
Massachusetts for sure, but that does not bleed over to New Hampshire. So very distinct states. I'm sure New Hampshire residents, Dr. Maria, wouldn't appreciate just being lumped in with Massachusetts. Although, are you both part of New England? So, and how do New Yorkers feel about that? You're fine with that?
What?
Being separate from New England?
Of course. Why? What are you part of New England for?
If you've been to a Red Sox Yankees game, then I'm sure you know how they feel about each other.
Yeah.
It's not exactly a point of pride.
So a lot of friendly back and forth here this evening on the regional rivalry. One of the
So,
biggest.
do you
rivalries.
think we have anybody who wants to make a call and try us out?
Give us
a
that number
try?
again. We'll.
Just give it a try. Just call. If you don't get through, I don't know.
Oh, we did get a call. Okay. So give that call again. Give us a number.
646-8836.
Let me add that number on right now, Mayor. That's 646
306
306
8836. I wonder if we can call them.
We'll call back. We got one call from Rob in New Jersey, and I feel comfortable with Rob. Rob is a good friend of the show. It is. So, Rob, thank you for being our test. I want to call you a guinea pig. I don't know if you're allowed to say that anymore.
No,
I'm
you
sure
just
it's
got
offensive to
fired.
somebody. All right, so Rob, we're going to give Rob a call.
Do I need one of these here?
Let's see if we can untangle some of these wires here. So as we get this set up, we've put the number on the screen. So we're putting the number on the screen. Let me get this untangled here. Oh, yeah, be careful with the. And bear with us, ladies and gentlemen. We are trying to implement our phone system. We haven't done that yet, but we've been promising it to you. So we want to make sure we're following through.
Now,
promises made, promises kept, right?
what's the right number? What's the right number for the?
It's going to be 1. So bear with us here. Number 2.
It's going to be in number 1.
Yes, but we have to get the right jack.
Well,
So
that's number 1.
Yep, that will go right here. Give me 20 seconds.
Well, here it goes. Hang in there, Rob. No, it doesn't seem to be going in there. It needs the bigger one.
Thanks for calling. We will. We're getting some calls now, so we will be answering. We're going to answer to Rob first. That's Rob in New Jersey. Thanks for joining us, America's Mayor Live.
Do we have it connected?
We are now looking to connect here. We want to make sure we're on Bluetooth. So the number is now on the screen. Give us a call. We are connecting to the roadcaster here.
So while we're waiting for him, Alan, what do you think of the polls at this level? And you are here in Florida with DeSantis. Mm-hmm. And I didn't see a poll on DeSantis's vote here, but I assume he would do very well here, right? Against Trump.
Say again?
How do you
I
think?
would say that DeSantis would do well against Trump in Florida.
Oh, I think he'd do very well in Florida. I'm not sure nationally. Can you give us the numbers again?
Oh, they only did Massachusetts, New Hampshire.
New Hampshire.
Sorry, we could not send to you the poll immediately. You should hear from us within a few minutes, as long as you can be reached at this number. Online booking is available to you 24/7 with 100% schedule transparency.
Do you hear anybody on the phone?
This preferred method of scheduling is accessible from hudsonhair.com. HUDSONHAIR.com is a shortcut redirecting you to our website, haircutterinthemeadow.com. Thank you.
Just now.
Yeah, somebody wanted to sell me hair products.
Really? You just heard that?
Yeah, I didn't buy any.
I can't tell.
Not too much hair to use them on. It did sound like Rob, though.
Are you kidding or no?
No.
Oh, you heard something. Okay. So we're going to Rob. Rob.
Oh, now it's ringing.
It's ringing. Okay, Rob, we are calling you back. Let me know if you hear Rob.
Hi, this is Rudy Giuliani.
Hello, Mayor.
Is this Rob?
It is me, Rudy. How are you?
Good, good. I heard you called up Greg this afternoon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I gave you a shout out on the Greg
Yeah,
Kelly
he
show
got a
today.
little, he got a little annoyed, huh?
What do you make of that?
Nah,
What do you make of that? Him getting on.
He was just being funny. I'm sure.
He's silly like that. I know. He loves you. He
He's
loves
a
you. I
great
know
guy.
he does that.
He's a
Absolutely.
great guy.
Yeah.
So, Rob, tell us what's going on.
Well, I had a couple of things to go over. One, I was in CPAC. We had one of our fellow constitutionalists, Mark Levin. He said that supporting Convention of State, Article 5 of the Constitution, gives the power to the states to call a Convention of States. So he says that's what people should be doing, because he says when politicians say that they're going to cut this and cut that, he says, no, they are not. He says Washington will not fix Washington. That's one. And I had one other thing about Tucker I wanted to mention. What do you think about about Levin's angle, Convention of State?
Well, I think the Convention of States is a good idea, except I am worried that we're going to put in play there are a lot of things that need to be fixed, and there are a lot of things that need to be clarified. But on balance, if you just left our Constitution alone and followed it, you'd have a pretty good country. So I'm afraid that we're going to get what we wish for. We get our Convention of States, and all of a sudden they make the Supreme Court 22 people, and they got the votes for it. I've had many conversations with the ones who are in favor of it, and they say things, Alan, like, "Oh, it's limited to the topics you go in with," and I've never seen a constitutional body run by rules of order that can't be manipulated.
Of course.
And
I see. That's a very good point. I had never thought of that. That's why I have to ask you.
I mean, I think if I put on a list of, maybe what you really should do is you should put on a piece of paper, what don't you like about the Constitution and what do you like about the Constitution? And if you like more about the Constitution, you dislike, leave it alone. Boy, I mean, even this cutting off of this Japanese company that is infiltrating and messing around with the youth, and I understand it because they are involved in some form of really espionage. But on the other hand, free speech is free speech. And one of the things that we complain about as conservatives is they cut off our right of free speech. They used to say they'll defend anybody's right of free speech, Nazis, terrorists. Everybody has a right of free speech. Now, we can see there is something to that. So maybe they are dangerous enough and seditious enough so you can cut off TikTok. But I wouldn't do it easily, and I wouldn't do it like, oh, we don't like what they're saying, and it's dangerous and it's endangering our kids, because that's what they're saying about us. Mm-hmm. That's what they're. Right. If I were to go into school and teach, and I were to start off by saying, I teach history, so part of my teaching history, I'm going to teach about God, because God, he's not just part of religion. If you don't have to believe in the religion, he's part of history. People have believed in him a lot more than haven't, and a lot of history gets determined based on belief in God, religions. So I'm going to teach a lot of that. They probably throw me out of the school.
Right.
Now, all I'm doing, I'm not trying to make them Catholics or Protestants or Jews or Islam, or trying to show them that one of the major factors in the history of the world has been religion.
That is an amazingly insightful
Thanks
response
for joining
to that
us.
question.
America's Mayor Live.
And we've had that cut off, which doesn't only make us irreligious and immoral, it makes us stupid, ignorant, right, Alan?
Yeah. Yes.
And then, so one other thing I wanted to
Mayor,
mention about.
Rob, thanks for the call. Let's take some more calls while we're at it.
Oh, sorry. Rob.
Okay.
You call
Okay.
us.
We're getting a lot of calls. We're getting a lot.
I
Let's.
got a
Let us
quickie.
take one more. Come on, he's one of our stars.
All right, Rob is.
I
There you go,
Thank
Rob.
you,
You heard
thank
from
you.
the mayor himself.
Thank you, sir. Okay, this one is regarding Tucker. I heard Greg Kelly, as it were, today say that he was surprised to see the latitude that the Murdochs give Tucker. And I wanted to call in. When I called in today, and we ran the clock late on that, I wanted to mention that I'm not so sure it's the Murdochs giving the latitude to Tucker. I think it might be Tucker. Tucker is Fox right now. I don't think the Murdochs can afford to lose Tucker. I think Tucker has a lot of creative control over his show, and thank God for it.
You know, I think yeah, I think you're right. I think you're more right than wrong. I think that they don't. This is not the time for them to take on Tucker. Too much has come out about how they play games, and if they play, I mean, they got away with it with O'Reilly. You know, they dumped O'Reilly and they did fine. But this is a different period. It's a much more tense period in history. We need all our forces together. If they dump Tucker, I think they make a terrible mistake. Terrible mistake.
I agree. I think detrimental, disastrous mistake.
Maybe another way to put it is I think Tucker is bigger to Fox than O'Reilly was.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I think the whole world would agree at this point.
Okay. Well, thanks, Joe. Keep calling in. All right. I'll see you soon.
Yes, I will. Thank you so much for taking my call.
Sign off with our super friend of the show, Monsignor Alan Plaka. Alan, thanks for joining us this evening.
Happy to be here.
And we hope, I'm guessing we'll see you again very soon.
I'll be around
on the show. Okay. Good. Thank you, Monsignor Plaka.
Thank you.
All right, Mayor, we have a few minutes here. How about you say we take a few more calls?
It's working.
It's working.
I mean, we've been trying this technology.
We're doing it.
We finally got it working here.
All right. So we are going to take another call here.
Pretty soon we're going to have an 800 number too.
Let's go to Iowa. We're going to go to Keith in Iowa. Is it ringing, Mayor?
It's ringing.
Hey, Rudy, how you doing, bud?
I'm doing okay. Keith, how are you?
Hey, pretty good. I watch you every night.
So where are you now?
West Union, Iowa.
Well,
Northeast Iowa.
So tell me what's going on. What do you have on your mind?
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm getting tired of the winter. We just got rid of all our snow. Now we got 5 to 8 inches of snow coming again with some wind.
Wait a second. Right now, 8 to 5 inches. Right
yeah, we got a winter storm warning out. It's supposed to start tomorrow.
And what do you have on the ground?
Oh, we just got rid of it, Rudy. We just got rid of it. We just got a few drifts in the ditch and along the fence lines and in the protected areas, and it was 40-some degrees, and now it's supposed to get cold again. So
what happens? Does it really close the whole area down?
No, not really. Everybody's pretty well used to it. Everybody's got 4-wheel drives or all-wheel drive vehicles around here, so they get around pretty good. You know, the biggest thing is the ice. If we get some ice, freezing rain, that's really bad then. You know, so. But no, it's winter. We're ready for spring.
Oh, we're all ready for spring, I tell you. Now, what about?
Oh man.
What about politics in Iowa? How
Tell us about that.
Politics,
the Iowa caucus, first in the nation.
Republican all the way.
First caucus in the nation. That's what I said.
Yep,
Iowa caucus.
Yep.
It's Republican, right?
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely all Republican. Yep.
Caucus. Very clear. Of course, New Hampshire.
Yep. New Hampshire only wanted it first, but then Iowa wanted it first. So
Iowa used to be the first caucus, and New Hampshire the first primary.
Yep.
So now it's going to be Idaho as the first caucus, and New Hampshire is the first primary.
Yep. Oh, I tell you what, I'm ready for get rid of that president we got in there. Man, oh man, He's gonna destroy our country, Rudy. I'm glad that you're out there watching everything what's going on, and I tell you what, keeping everybody posted. And I share your show too to all my people here. So
Well, thank you. We appreciate that very,
Hey.
very much. Tell them to call in
You
now that we
bet.
have a number. We'll have a new number.
hey, you bet. I got your number. You bet. I got it now, and I got it written down, and I got it on my phone. I'm gonna put you right in my contacts.
646-306-8836.
You betcha.
Then we're gonna
I
have
got
we're
her.
gonna have a nice 800 number about a week or two, and you can use both. Okay.
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
Hey, you bet. You bet. Yeah, I tell you what, Rudy. Hey, thanks a lot. You're all American.
Well,
keep
I love
that president.
Idaho. I love Idaho. I wish everything was like Idaho.
Yep.
God bless you.
Yeah. Hey, you bet, Rudy. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Keep on with that president. He's going to destroy our country if we don't get rid of that guy. He is. He's going to
we
do
will,
it.
my friend. We will.
He's trying to take our guns away, and plus he's trying to open up let the criminals come in. And
Oh
down.
man, we'd be all night. Well, we'll give the next guy a shot. I bet he has something to say about it. Who is it?
All right, you want to take another call, Mayor?
I do.
Okay, here are options. They're calling right now.
I'll
We
just
have to
pick one.
pick Garden City, New York, Joliet, Illinois, Kingston, New York.
Oh, don't do that, Joliet. Let's go to Joliet.
We're calling back Charles, and I'm on a delay because I got to figure this out. So
Okay.
I'm letting you take the call.
I'll take the call, but just
Oh,
you
you'll
pick it
ask-
out.
Hello.
Joliet, Illinois.
You got it.
There's Rudy Giuliani.
How you doing, Rudy?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Good.
So what can I do for you?
on YouTube. I was watching your show on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, we're on now.
Yeah, I just was watching it.
So what would you like to know?
Well, what's going on with our president,
Well, I think he's missing a couple of brain cells.
Uh-oh, that's not good.
I think the guy is demented. And I also think he unfortunately has lived a life of taking bribes for so long. He has no conscience left. Just lies constantly. Anybody who takes money as often as he did, how can they lead a great country like ours? I mean, that may be one of the reasons that our morale and morality is so bad, because it comes from the top,
Right.
And how people in Joliet, Illinois feel about him.
Well, they're, it's Republican, most all, that's what we
Right.
are out there,
Good.
mostly Republican,
So they're mostly
But-
upset with him.
Yeah, there's some, not saying everybody, but some are really upset with
And
him.
how
yeah,
about Trump?
because of what's going on. Trump? Well, they're not happy with Trump right now either.
Yeah. Now, why is that?
Because of the way he's like, you're my buddy. The next minute, hey, I don't want you. Santos, oh yeah, you're great. All of a sudden, boom.
Yeah, too much personal infighting.
Yes, it is.
You think he'd be a lot better off if he would cut that out?
I think he's done too much damage already for himself. To tell you the truth.
So who do you like?
Me, I think Santos would be okay.
Okay.
You know,
that's
we need somebody younger in there. Biden's too old. Trump is getting too old too. He's too old actually. I'd like to see a young president. Remember when we had Kennedy in there?
yeah,
was a Democrat,
DeSantis would
but
be even younger
He
than
was
Kennedy.
young and good.
I think he'd be even younger.
I think Kennedy was
DeSantis,
was
not
38.
Santos. He's
What?
been.
Santa.
No, we know.
Yeah,
who he was.
Kennedy was 38
Kennedy was.
when he became president.
So you like DeSantis for president? You don't like the
I think we
president?
need better.
You think we need youth?
Yeah, well,
That's good to know.
there's good and bad with Biden, but I'm saying I'm a union worker.
Yeah.
I ain't gonna say I'm not. I'm a union worker. But there's good and bad. In every presidency, there's good and bad.
You got to balance it. But thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very, very much for calling and checking in with us. Keep calling, all right?
Okay,
Take care.
thank you.
Okay. Pick another one as long as we got time.
Well, Mayor, we're over, but we're in stoppage time. We could.
Well,
this is pretty
we'll take
exciting,
one more
right?
call and then
Let's
we'll
do another
sign
call.
off.
And the fun part is we're actually calling people back because they're calling in, and then we're having to call back. So I'm gonna pick a state here. Let's go to Kingston, New York's been calling quite a bit.
Let's do Kingston,
Let's
New
go
York.
Kingston,
up
New York.
north. Must be cold up there tonight.
So you're ringing. Call now and come in. We're gonna have a full call-in show tomorrow. That's for sure. So be ready tomorrow. So we're calling Kingston, New York. And if you're calling in, be sure to turn down the show if you have it on in the background. Of course, we're on a delay.
Well,
You've reached Matthew. I can't come.
Matthew, are you there?
So leave a message and I'll get back.
Well, we'll leave a message, Matthew. It's Rudy Giuliani. You
At the
call
tone,
back tomorrow
please
night
record your message.
at
When you are finished
646
recording, you may hang up or press
306-8836.
1 for more
And we're
options.
going to use this as our sign off for the evening. It was wonderful talking to you, and we'll see you tomorrow night. God bless America.